Lena Kassicieh, and I am a Palestinian-American artist based in Dubai. I'm also a cultural practitioner, and I work within the culture and arts sector here in the UAE. I think for me, what sets the tone for my creative practice is living, is doing different things. I'll be walking along the road and I'll see an amazing building from the 1980s, and I'll want to draw it, and that kind of sparks a whole afternoon of creative activities for me. And for me, the weekends are definitely the time that I get to explore different creative parts of my practice. So it's totally random, and it's daily lived experiences that inspire all of my work. Studio space is a place that an artist lives and works, and so oftentimes I think artists can't afford to, or don't have the capacity to have a huge artist studio separate from their home. So for me, and I move a lot. I've lived in different countries, and so every time I move, I make it a critical point of finding a place within my home. It's always within my home to make art. And so for my ceramic practice, that usually means either I get clay and I bring it home and I create kind of a little corner in my house, or I find a studio space that I can use on weekends or after work that I'm able to create. During the lockdown especially, we were stuck at home, we weren't able to go anywhere, so going to a ceramic studio to make ceramics was not an option. And so I found ways to use the tools that I had at home to create art. So I did a lot more digital art on my iPad. I had some old canvases that I recycled, and so I painted over those. I made a lot more collage work with old magazines and books that I had laying around. My space is limiting in that it is small, and I also live here. So I think that's a challenge, that if I want to have friends over and I've been painting all afternoon, I need to consider, the cleanup time, or kind of these logistics, but they do matter. And so if I did have a separate studio space from a living space, it would be much easier to leave paints around, to leave, kind of a mess of collage materials. And the same with ceramics, it's quite a messy medium. So the limitations for me are that I do try to keep my space livable. For me, my creative practice is defined by a sense of playfulness. I think I'm really attracted to bright colors, to kind of childhood themes. Nostalgia plays a key role in a lot of my different work, and because it's so multidisciplinary, I think I use my creative practice as a way of kind of processing things that are happening to me on a regular basis. But it's also an outlet for me to express things that I might not know how to articulate. I think there's a natural lightheartedness, which is, I think, part of my personality as well. But I think that's something I try to create in my art. So the feeling I want people to get from seeing my art and from experiencing it is this sense of kind of whimsy and lightheartedness, and I think it's something that I want to really capture and share in my work. So for the past year, I've been working on an exhibition with Warehouse 421 and Gulf Photo Plus. It's been a really amazing group experience in which we're all UAE-based photographers and artists working on a project that focuses on the Mina Zayed area of Abu Dhabi. This is an area that's rapidly undergoing gentrification and change, and is being quickly developed. And so for my project, I developed a series of postcards that are both nostalgic but also emotional. They kind of document my experience in moving about a space that was very new for me. But the more time that we spent there, the more I became familiar with kind of some of the visual experiences of Mina Zayed. And so my postcard project kind of documents that in a way that is both playful and nostalgic, but also there's a melancholy side to it, I think, in that the space is what it is now, but in 5 years won't be the same. And so I think these postcards kind of serve as, a moment in time that kind of captures something that is really quickly changing. I'd say my advice to young artists who are just getting started, and this is something I wish someone had told me, was to not be afraid to put yourself out there. I think the hardest thing is wanting to own the title artist. And I remember when I was really young, I felt pretentious saying I'm an artist. So I never put myself out there. I've always been making work and producing creative work, but never would own that title of artist. And I never applied to open calls. I never, reached out to galleries. I never did the things that you should be doing. And so I think my advice would be to just put yourself out there. And a rejection's a rejection, you'll get over it. But I think it's really critical to get that feedback. And sometimes a rejection can be helpful because it can shape the way you kind of approach your art and your creative practice. And so I think my advice would be to just put yourself out there and try. You never know what could come of it.